is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Harry Potter, the Rereading, chapters 20, 21, and 22. The Dementor's Kiss, Hermione's Secret, and Owl Post Again. In these chapters, this is the final chapter coverage on iTunes for Harry Potter. You guys gonna miss us?
They're gonna miss us.
I fucking bet you are. Yeah, you are. Welcome to Unspoiled. All right, welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Natasha.
I'm RoShawn.
And so we got like 10 new reviews. We have almost all 5 stars, and then we have a 1 star. And they hate me.
I'm sorry.
I am unlikable. I bowl over RoShawn's interesting stories with my uninteresting self.
Good God.
I am like trying to I'm only thinking about how to monetize the podcast, but aren't thinking about what readers want.
Oh, they're mad because we're taking it off iTunes?
I think, well, the title of the review is, I wish it was worth the $1 they demanded.
I guess it is.
I quote, I think Natasha thinks she has something going and is riding it through her yawn-worthy turbulent relationships and boring self-interest without realizing that she would have needed to create something stronger a lot sooner to be worth paying.
They don't know anything about the other things that we do they?
I don't know if they understand what this is. Yeah, so it's a weird, it's one of those reviews that I'm like, they really clearly hate me, but I can't even, take it that personally because I feel like they don't understand what is even, it seems like they listened to one episode and got mad about it. But I just had to, because you often are, worried about bad reviews because you're afraid that they are going to hurt your feelings. And I just wanted to let you know that it's sometimes they're just going to hate me. That's you might have nothing to worry about, even if it's a very negative review.
Yeah, I'm just not interested in hearing anybody's negative opinions of me or you for that matter, because I have a real life for that.
Right. Yeah.
So I have no interest in that coming into my podcast life. Come on. I go to work every day. Well, I'm sad that person got to leave a review.
Yeah,
there should be some kind of screening process before honestly, you can leave a review. It's
so over the top and how annoyed they are that I'm kind of gonna maybe screenshot this and keep it because
you should.
It's really amazing. They're mad that we're trying to get people to use the Amazon link and stuff, and I'm like, that all podcasts need people to help them out. This is just how podcasting works.
Yeah. Some podcasts have actual, honest to God, ads in them.
Exactly.
People have to fucking try to make a living.
and let's see.
No. Don't take my. I have no interest in hearing the rest of this review.
It's not the rest, but it's they're not thinking of what their readers want. Hint, is it really $20 plus patron casts and endless talk about how fans are financing their vacations, which aren't going to be as lavish as planned? Boo-hoo.
It was pretty lavish.
It was very lavish. It was a vacation. That's just lavish, period. But just I'm just all right, well, but I just wanted to lead with that because I just it was just amazing. So,
I feel like you may get more of those as people start to realize it's not up anymore.
I'm
new episodes.
Anticipating that people are going to be irritated by it. What are you going to do? It's not like I don't have a ton of other content out there. And like I said, everybody, if you like listening to me and RoShawn talk about wizards, listen to Dresden Files. But
you guys should totally be listening to the Dresden Files.
Yeah, RoShawn's starting to really get into it.
Yes, please join me on this journey, guys. It got really good really fast.
All of a sudden.
I mean, it's been pretty good, but yeah, it's going up a notch. And I'm only like 6 chapters in, so you have time.
But we have we have 11 other reviews, and all of them are straight up 5 stars.
Well, thank you so much for that.
So everybody, we have the title Unbelievably Enjoyable. Chrissy Parasic wrote, "It's like having friends," which I just thank you for using that quote, Chrissy. I love it. Raw Potato from Canada wrote, "RoShawn is now just RoShawn." Aw. Oh, don't say that.
Yeah, I don't know if I care for that. I think I should keep my unicorn status. Once a unicorn, always a unicorn.
Skeptic Kiwi from New Zealand says, "Completely hooked. The way Natasha deflects RoShawn's predictions makes me laugh every time. Oh, deflecting those is tough." Main fan just says, "I love this podcast. Love listening to RoShawn's classic predictions of what will happen next." Mira says, "I hardly ever rate anything, but these two are hilarious. I always look forward to their podcasts, and I love getting 2 different points of view on chapters." A toast to the goats from DB Love. "This is the single greatest podcast of all time. Greatest of all time!" In caps. If I needed an antidote to that 1-star review, getting greatest of all time in all caps really should be it.
Yeah, that'll do, I think.
Declan Sevior from Canada. "I went for a real dramatic title to relive a life. I'm the only one of my friends to have read HP books, and I've done it 5 times.
Wow.
So having some virtual friends to relive it with is fantastic. Oh. RoShawn isn't just a unicorn because she's unspoiled. She's just a unicorn.
Thank you.
Majesty,
Thank you, good sir.
Intrigue, and all. Simply put, you deserve the world." Declan! Holy shit, man.
Hey, Declan. How you doing?
And Natasha, you plain-spoken goddess. Wow. "Sometimes I disagree with your politics, but God, do I respect you and everything you represent." Well, shit, Declan. You just know how to get right to our hearts, don't you?
He really does.
Shit.
What country is that review from again?
That's from Canada.
They got that healthcare up there, too. Mm-hmm.
Keeps you in good spirits and appreciating good podcasts is what that does.
Well, thank you.
Monid from Australia says, "This show is so great. Natasha loves the series almost as much as I do. And RoShawn is completely unspoiled and has no idea what's about to unravel," which I really like that term. RoShawn's unspoiled predictions are either scarily on point or buzzard. I think they meant to write bizarre and some autocorrect got involved.
I kind of like buzzard, though.
But buzzard is amazing. And Robo W from Germany says, 5 stars, everything you wanted and more. It's honestly amazing what these 2 ladies put together with this wonderful podcast. It's everything I wanted and more. Do you enjoy obsessing about Harry Potter? Do you like a good laugh and a healthy amount of cursing? Have you been waiting for someone finally calling out Ron for being a giant douchebag? Your search is over. This is the podcast for you. Thank you, Natasha, for your wit and charm. And thank you, RoShawn, for simply being a delight.
Oh.
Oh, guys, thanks so much. We love you.
Thank you so much. Oh.
Got to me. And one last thing before we get started on this, because I had meant to read this last week, and it cracked me up. So I wanted to make sure to cover that this time. Let me find it. I hate the new way that the inbox for my messages on the Facebook page works is so friggin' confusing. Because I had it saved so that I could go back and find it easily, and then it's not there anymore. Go to new inbox. Okay, I guess I'll do that. Why do they do this, RoShawn? Why does Facebook make everything so difficult?
Facebook, because it's the worst. It's the best at being the worst. And it's afraid someone's going to take its crown, so it's constantly innovating how to be even more the worst.
I got a message, because I cannot find it, that I wanted to read to y'all. And it was from somebody named Trevor. And Trevor...
You read that one to me.
I read it to you, and I was like, I need to read this on the air. And then I couldn't find it.
Oh, is it in your, like, unfiltered messages since you're not Facebook
No,
friends?
because it was sent to the Facebook page, not to me.
Oh. Boo.
So I don't know, But Trevor wrote to me saying that he fell in love with us the instant that he heard me stop and say about Neville's toad. Can we just stop and take a second to talk about what a fucking stupid name Trevor is? Which I did not mean as, like, an overall name.
Right.
That
You have a friend named Trevor, right?
I have a friend named Trevor, yeah. Like, one of Owen's best friends. I have no problem with the name Trevor. But a magical creature in a book about magic that's just named Trevor is so hilariously ridiculous. And he said that he was listening to us and heard us say that and burst out laughing and was like, yep, this is the show for me. And that could really have gone either way.
It really could have. That could have ended with, like, a really angry email. And he would have been right to send it to us.
Indeed.
But I'm glad that he laughed instead.
Thank you, Trevor, for sending me that message. I'm very sorry that I couldn't find it to actually read it on the air, but it delighted me.
It did. I had a good chuckle as well.
That was just a good one. All right. So I just wanted to say hi to all these people who have been getting in contact and leaving reviews and everything. You're all amazing. And also, next week, our very last episode on iTunes, because this is the last chapter coverage episode, but we're going to be doing one last iTunes episode for basically a Q&A and discussing the reread as a whole and just generally just like talking about Harry Potter in general before we sign off. So if y'all are interested in asking specific questions or bringing up a discussion topic for me and RoShawn, you can message me on Facebook. Probably the best way, though, because this messenger is being real finicky, is to email me, unspoiledpodcast@gmail.com. And, shoot me your emails. I'll save them. I reserve the right to occasionally not bring one up because sometimes I will get lots of repeat questions or similar questions. Oh my God, you guys, like 2 weeks ago, I just got so many people sending me the link to that bot that wrote the Harry Potter thing.
Right.
You saw that, right?
Yeah,
did you read
I did.
That?
I saw it. It was posted in the group like 4 times.
Well, that was the first part. Then I got 2 emails about it. I got tweeted about it. I got, I think, 3 messages on the Facebook page for it. And of course I got messaged for it directly. But it just like was everywhere. And then 2 people posted it on my page too. On my feed. I was just like, holy shit, guys, I've seen it. Chill out. But did you actually read it?
I read the one that was in the group, yeah.
Okay, because I haven't read it yet. Mostly because so many people sent it to me that I was like, you know what? I'm just taking a stand right now. I'm not even doing this.
Just out of spite.
I'm just annoyed now. But
well, people were very excited about it, and it was pretty fucking funny. It was worth
like somebody
the shares.
suggested that I do a live read of it, but you've read it already, so there's not really a point to doing that.
But you haven't read it yet.
No, but do you want to live read it to me? Because I feel like you couldn't do it. I feel like you'd be about one sentence in and you would lose your shit. And then I would never get to hear the second sentence ever.
That seems about right.
You know what I'm saying? Harry Potter and what looked like a large pile of ash. The handsome one. I'm just reading this first paragraph to just get a taste. The castle grounds snarled with a wave of magically magnified wind. The sky outside was a great black ceiling, which was full of blood. Jesus. The only sounds drifting from Hagrid's hut were the disdainful shrieks of his own furniture. Magic. It was something that Harry Potter thought was very good. Leathery sheets of rain lashed at Harry's ghost as he walked across the grounds toward the castle. Ron was standing there and doing a kind of frenzied tap dance. He saw Harry and immediately began to eat Hermione's family. Ron's Ron shirt was just as bad as Ron himself.
That was my favorite line!
If you two can't clump happily, I'm going to get aggressive, confessed the reasonable Hermione. What about Ron magic? Offered Ron. To Harry, Ron was a loud, slow, and soft bird. Harry did not like to think about birds.
I'm sorry. Oh my god. I posted in the group, what about Ron magic? I fucking lost my shit when I read it. And Ron's shirt was almost as bad as Ron.
This is my favorite so far. Death Eaters are on top of the castle, Ron bleated, quivering. Ron was going to be spiders. He just was. He wasn't proud of that. But it was going to be hard to not have spiders all over his body after all is said and done. I love that. The way that sentence like goes on and still just ends in this like mystifying, when all is said and done, how are you going to avoid all the spiders there?
There's just no way around it. You're just going to be spiders. Yeah, it was pretty, like I said, it was worth the shares. It was pretty fucking good.
So I will go. Now, guys, I swear I'll go and read it. I hope that was enough to satisfy you that I address it. And I know you guys are all just excited, so I'm not mad. I just it all seemed to happen in one day. There was the day that somebody initially shared it in the patrons group, and people were commenting and excited about it. And first day, that was it. And then it was like the day after, in the afternoon, all of a sudden, the entire world was like, oh, shit!
You know who needs to see this? Natasha needs to see this.
Everybody. Get her at once. Get her! So, back to the story. The Dementor's Kiss, with one of my favorite illustrated pages so far, because it's just beautiful.
It is.
So this is when they're all heading back to the castle, and
because for some reason, just asking Dumbledore to show up at the shack was unreasonable.
Yeah,
like, just say, like, I don't know. And I just, they could have all just sat still. Let's just all stay here. Nobody move. And we'll have them come to us while everybody is contained. But, then there would have been no action.
That's
true. You got to have action.
And, and Sirius is hovering Snape along and, making sure that his head
hits every fucking thing.
He's the worst.
I I love
Did
to.
you see the discussion? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say I had forgotten that at one point Sirius and Harry are talking about the potential of Harry moving in with him, and they kind of lose track of Snape a little bit.
Yes.
And he just starts to kind of float off and like bang up against the ceiling.
Oh my god! I do love that.
It's like a little Snape balloon, and they're just like it's on a. You know how when you leave a party and like you keep the balloon for a couple of days until it just starts to like lose all its helium, and it gets sort of sad. It starts to like float closer to the ground.
That's like, yeah, all right.
But then terrible things happen because
I just wanted to address real quick. Did you see the discussion of because Krista took issue with our saying that Sirius was shit, which I stand by. Her interpretation of what Sirius thought was going on with Snape is that he felt that Snape was trying to out Lupin. As a werewolf to the rest of the school.
And that was the source of the animosity?
Yeah, that basically, like, he would have been expelled from school probably, ostracized from, like, most of his friends. Maybe even, like, the friends that cared about him, their own parents wouldn't have let him continue hanging out with them. That kind of thing.
I think that Sirius is kind of a bully, and he has that thing that bullies often have where they can find like a weak link.
Okay.
And he would have tormented Snape either way, I think.
Okay, so you think that even if, because the main thing that we were like using as an example of him being shitty was him like basically seeming to be totally okay with Snape getting killed by a werewolf going into that tunnel. Do you think that he would have still done that just because he didn't like Snape, even if it didn't seem like Snape was trying to out Lupin?
I think that they can't really be separated. Like,
okay.
There's Sirius who torments Snape and is an ass to him, along with James, at every turn. And then it sort of, like, escalates to this trying to, trap Snape in with Lupin.
Mm-hmm.
And it's possible that the fact that Snape was trying to out Lupin just piled on, and maybe that's like the last straw that made it okay made Sirius think it was okay to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think he really would have done it? I think so.
This is where we get into like kind of a weird area, because Krista's assumptions that Snape had been planning to out him to the entire school is not the assumption that I made. Now, I get why she thinks that, and
what did she say? What was her?
Okay, her original post. What's that?
Yeah, I'm just going to go find it real quick while you're talking.
It says, you forget why Sirius was fine with Snape dying. It was because Snape was trying to out Lupin as the wizard version of having AIDS and being gay in the 80s. Imagine if some douche tried to do that to one of your friends. But not just any friend, just, I don't know, like David Kehoe. That nice, which is adorable.
David Kehoe is the nicest, though.
And he jumped in on the comments and was like, "Aw."
Because he's so nice.
Also, imagine that Creature is that cousin who parrots all the racist shit and whatnot against you that your parents said to you all the time, and that you just got thrown out of your house less than 3 years ago in your brain. I guess kind of just disowned by your family, but you're still living there.
I just found it. Okay. All right, I have a separate thing about Creature that is a separate thing. I don't hold him. Basically. Yeah, I don't hold him to the same standard because a free you can't be in servitude and the things that you spout, or whatever. I just don't think you can be held to the same standard.
Yeah, I agree. Because she says, so if we're going to say that Creature and Sirius have the same agency, and I'm like, well, they don't. That's just flat out within the universe, not true. But I don't think that was really what she was focusing on. But yeah.
So I like and I do think that there is a certain part of Sirius that is very protective. We know that, right? We know that to be true from the books. So it makes sense that he would really go to extraordinary lengths to protect his friends. I think that tracks. Mm-hmm. I also think that because Sirius is kind of not shit, he would have gone through with the thing with Snape. Which is fucked up, though, because when you think about it, and I don't know if this comes up in your conversation because it's like 30 comments and I haven't had a chance to read them all, but I don't feel like Lupin would have been okay with that, though.
No,
right?
Definitely not.
And that's something I don't think Sirius would have even thought about, because he's, again, not shit. So he's not even thinking about how this would have impacted the friend that he's going so far out of his way and doing this terrible thing to protect. That's
turning him into a murderer.
Yeah, that's a really fucking shitty thing to do. Yeah. And that just, I think, supports anybody who would say Sirius is terrible. Way more than the bullying of Snape, But I also I don't remember taking away from the book that Snape was on a mission to out Lupin to everyone. It felt more like he was just trying to prove something to Lily specifically.
That was my response to this also. And to be fair, I don't have a lot of evidence to support that. And we just have the text, which is him talking to Lily about it.
Right.
And David quotes it down here where it says, in the memory that Snape has, he says to Lily, they sneak out at night. There's something weird about that Lupin. Where does he keep going? He's ill, said Lily. They say he's ill. Every month at the full moon, said Snape. I know your theory, said Lily, and she sounded cold. Why are you so obsessed with them anyway? Why do you care what they're doing at night? I'm just trying to show you they're not as wonderful as everyone seems to think they are. So
That's
from that, I am on your side there, where I feel like it seems to me this is a personal thing for him.
Right. And it sounds like it's come up before. She seems over this conversation. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that other people in this thread tended to agree with Krista that they felt it was him obsessing over it and talking with Lily about it, but that if Snape has gotten close enough with a bunch of Death Eaters that it's gotten back to her, that it's inevitable if he found out this kid was a werewolf, he's absolutely telling them. Which is probably true, but it's just so not, there's no actual text where we see him hanging out or having friends with literally anybody. That's really hard for me to picture. I just see him as this kind of solitary weirdo who he was a Death Eater, but wasn't friends with them, and not because he held himself above it at all, just because he wasn't a very likable person, and basically would go straight from that to hanging out with Lily, which is probably why he was able to compartmentalize that she was a mudblood and not think it was a big deal because she's his only friend. But that's just, I don't there's not evidence to support either way, really. Yeah,
it's an interesting conversation because it sounds like, and again, I really wish I should have followed this thread a little bit more closely. I don't remember what we said. What did she? So what did we said that we basically said Sirius was terrible.
Yeah, we said Sirius ain't shit many times.
Yeah,
and they said that Snape is also terrible.
I think I just said Sirius ain't shit like 4 times just in this conversation.
Yes, we did. Confirmed.
So, yeah, I can't say that I'm swayed away from that position at all.
Yeah.
And it maybe if Snape, you know what? I'm going to be dead honest. Maybe if Snape were a more likable character, I would care more about the danger that Sirius put him in.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But you'll notice that my concern went to Lupin.
Yes.
Pretty quickly. Like
I think most people would agree.
You
with
know,
that.
like how would Lupin feel about murdering Snape? Not how sad it would be that Snape was murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And that is probably just bias because he's terrible, and I, don't like him.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know if I can just chalk Sirius's behavior as being like a fucking pit bull on behalf of his friend. Right. You know what I mean? I just, I think we see too much.
We see too many instances of him being kind of a dick to people.
Kind of not just a dick to people, but being impulsive, being careless, being thoughtless, being like sulky, very much like a little kid, pouting when he doesn't get his way. Yeah, I think the whole package, the Sirius package, as a person, is not great. Yeah. I see here that somebody, I think it's David, mentions in the thread that we have to remember that he was, locked away for 12 years. Mm-hmm. And I think David says something like, he never really grew up.
Right.
Which I think
Mary says that also.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point as well. Which explains the Sirius that we meet in these books. Right. He's still this pretty shitty teenager. Mm-hmm. Through no fault of his own.
Yeah, almost teenager, 20 years old, I think, was when he got put away. But...
Yeah, but the memories we're getting are from them when they're still in school. Right. The bullying and the snake trap and all that other kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, I just like,
sorry.
because we see James Potter being a dick, but apparently he grew up enough from that he was able to get Lily and marry her. And
that's another thing too, is that's all we have is evidence of his growth, is that he snagged this woman.
Right. Yeah.
Which I'm not a fan of.
I don't like that either. And it really, that's part of my question too, is that you would think that if he did mature, that Sirius would also have matured some. Or at least, maybe if he didn't mature at all, that if James had, he wouldn't have been as close friends with him anymore. But it seems like they were still, best buds, despite James apparently doing a bunch of growing that it doesn't seem like Sirius did.
I think it's possible that Sirius may have started to grow as well. Because, again, like you just said, they were, in their early 20s when James and Lily died. Mm-hmm. So they were probably on the path, and James was probably a good influence on Sirius. And if things had been different, he probably would have come a long way. But without that influence, the pain of losing his friend, and then going to Azkaban and dealing with the Dementors, whatever growth he had, I feel like he probably lost immediately.
Yeah.
And then just regressed, So I don't want to dismiss the possibility that he also grew, because Lily, as far as we can tell, I think, seems to have embraced Sirius in her life.
It seems that way. She wrote to him.
Right?
Yeah.
So if he was still behaving the same exact way, even if she did fall for James and James started to change, I don't think she would have had that relationship with him.
Yeah.
You know? So I'll give him that.
Yeah, I like ended my part of the conversation with, regardless, I stand by my feeling on the whole thing. Snape is a racist, bigoted little shit, and Sirius is an asshole with his very own particular superiority complex and a streak of ruthlessness that I find really off-putting. And I still pretty much stand there.
Yeah.
So, back to the chapter. They are in the middle of heading back to the castle when Sirius tells Harry that he should come and live with him. And Harry is so excited to have family and to get to leave the Dursleys. And of course, we know that this is too good to last.
Right.
And Lupin is in the middle of walking and goes rigid and all of a sudden begins to transform. And Pettigrew, who was waiting for any opportunity, dives for the wand that Lupin dropped, turns himself back into a rat, and disappears.
Yep, it all goes to shit pretty quickly.
Really, really quickly.
Yeah. Which, again, could have just sent a little flare up in the sky.
That's true.
A little come here flare. But for whatever reason, it was decided that this whole little cavalry, needed to march back to the castle. Even though Ron's got like a broken or whatever, his leg's all fucked up.
Yes.
And they had to float. Leg. And they had to float Snape there. It still seemed like a good idea to them. So shit goes terrible, and you think it's the worst thing, and then the worst thing really happens.
Yeah, I just it's so hard to read this when if things had gone to plan, it would have been so good. Mm-hmm. But not only does all that shit happen, but then the Dementors. Oh, sorry, I hit my book. The Dementors start to come for Sirius.
Yep.
And
all the adults have Lupin's changing or changed. Sirius goes after him. He changes and goes after him. Pettigrew bounces. Snape is not in any position to help anybody do anything.
He's not.
So it's just them. And I think even Harry and Hermione leave Ron to go after Sirius when they hear him yelp. Mm-hmm. So they're separated. And then the Dementors show up. And it's all of them, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
It's not like just 2 or 3 that broke off from the group.
Let's see. I'm trying to see where it says. At least, oh my God. Harry saw them, Dementors, at least 100 of them, gliding in a black mass around the lake toward them.
Yep. And they can, completely circle them, And it's bad news. And Harry is trying so hard.
He really is.
To get his little Patronus
sad little
out.
Patronus.
And he's trying to tell Hermione how to do it. She don't know how to do this shit yet.
Nope, they do not have Dumbledore's army in place,
they have not
sir.
done that yet. He's just telling her what to say, Think good thoughts and say these words. It does not work.
Bless him.
Oh, yeah. And he keeps trying, and it goes on for a half a page.
Yeah, it does.
And I had forgotten that this fucking thing puts its hands around his neck. I had forgot all about that.
Oh, yeah, because it's going to try and administer the kiss.
Yeah, it's going after him first, which I had forgotten that part, too.
So fucked up.
Which, I don't know why it goes for him first. Does he say?
Because he's aiding and abetting a murderer, probably.
Oh, man.
As far as they know.
So they're just going to be judge and jury out here.
Exactly, yeah.
Feared for their lives. No, I'm sorry.
Oh, shit. I was waiting for somebody to say that shit.
Commentary.
Trenchant. Oh, dear God. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be laughing. What are we going to do otherwise, though? Yeah, so the Dementors plant some dope on Harry, and their Dementor cams were mysteriously turned off throughout the entire incident. So somebody summons a Patronus and saves them. And this is the first time Harry gets a good look at Prongs, the lobster lumbering across the lake.
I feel like the fact that it happened on a lake was part of the setup, and subconsciously that's where I got Prongs from. That's why I went to seafood.
Yeah, that's definitely what it is.
That's what. I mean, lobsters are from lakes, right? That totally makes sense, right?
the rare and magical lake lobster,
right? That's where all the best lobster comes from.
Little known. So Hermione's secret begins with them in the hospital ward, overhearing conversation. Yeah,
they're like, we get to hear, like, Fudge is on this, Fudge, right? Yeah. He's on the scene. Dumbledore is there? Or no, he walks in later. It's Fudge and Snape talking. That's who it is.
Yeah.
This motherfucker
says that they were confunded.
Slept through the whole thing, and now he's giving an eyewitness account.
I hate him so much.
I do too. He's got all the answers. He knows what's up. He knows what happened. The kids were confounded. He doesn't know who took care of the Dementors, but he got there just in time, and blah, blah, blah. And Potter is behind everything.
Yep.
And maybe if we weren't so lenient with Potter, maybe this would never have happened. But because we let him get away with so much shit, is what he's saying.
Isn't that an amazing thing to do, to like simultaneously accept a compliment from your far, far superior while throwing shade at them?
He's like Jenna Maroney.
Oh my god. Yeah, so this is, going great for him for a second, where he's like trying to get Order of Merlin first class if I can wrangle it.
Oh my god.
Poor Snape sees that dangled in front of his nose and then whisked away. And they're trying to figure out what made the Dementors retreat. And that's the part where I was just like, really? That's what you're worried about? Is what made them retreat?
Yeah, like, why aren't we focused on what made them attack? But
exactly.
And Fudge does seem a little on edge about that it happened.
He does a little later. Initially, that wasn't that was the part I was wanting him to focus on, first. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I guess he is just like, well, thank God they're alive, but how did that happen?
Yeah. And then Harry comes to, and Hermione, and it turns into sort of a little bit of a chaotic scene, because they are yelling, trying to tell Fudge what really happened, but they're talking over each other, and they're not making any sense. They sound like crazy people.
Yeah, they do.
And
because they're starting at the end of the story, the classic blunder.
Yeah. And they're, screaming, especially Harry. And Fudge isn't doing a great job of getting control of the room.
No, he is not. Fudge is not in control of anything.
And then Snape sort of ends up arguing with the kids, which is really, like, you're supposed to, again, you're the adult here. But
Snape's so petty.
Oh, he really is.
Yep.
But then finally Dumbledore shows up.
Yes. And this is the part where, like, again, this is one of those stories where you could have anybody make a well-placed statement here and the whole thing falls apart. Like, when Snape says to Dumbledore, I suppose he's told you the same fairy tale he's planted in Potter's head, something about a rat and Pettigrew being alive. That indeed is Black's story, said Dumbledore, surveying Snape closely through his half-moon spectacles. And does my evidence count for nothing? Well, here's the thing. If Dumbledore is this amazing wizard, wouldn't he be able to, like, do something to figure out if Hermione and Harry were confounded?
I would think. I mean, they don't seem to be getting treated for being confounded. They're getting chocolate shoved in their mouth from the Dementors.
Dementor attack, yeah.
But that seems to be about it.
Or you could, give them some Veritaserum, which I don't think have quite learned about here yet.
Right.
There are just a lot of methods by which this could have been proven or disproven beyond just going he said, she said for 20 minutes.
And Snape's evidence is that he didn't see Peter.
Mm-hmm.
That's not actually evidence.
No, it's not. If he's a fucking animagus, and he's a rat animagus, it's not like he's like a saber-toothed tiger or something that would be immediately obvious in the room.
Exactly.
Then, yeah, you wouldn't see him, you twat.
So, and then when Dumbledore talks to the kids, he's like, well, your story doesn't stand up against, basically Snape's version of events.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, because one, you're kids and no one's going to listen to you. And no one's going to listen to Sirius because he's A convicted murderer, and B, and then Lupin is...
Lupin's the other guy who's a werewolf.
He's a werewolf, he's unavailable, and he's also Sirius is one of his best friends. So none of you have any credibility.
Yep.
But you're right. I feel like there should be other ways to determine what exactly happened.
Mm-hmm.
God forbid. Where's the map?
Oh, there's that. Yeah, that's something that I don't feel like it doesn't get actually addressed, right? Because like Lupin's whole thing was that he was afraid to let Dumbledore down by telling him about the map, by telling him that he had been sneaking out when he was in school.
Mm-hmm.
And so he kept that whole thing secret.
Yeah, he never told Dumbledore about the fact that Sirius and James were animagus,
mm-hmm.
or animagi. So he's got all this guilt and, in that he was not truthful. But
mm-hmm.
you could be truthful as a grown-up, though.
Yeah. Wild idea here, guys.
So, really, there's nothing. It's presented like there's just nothing else we can do except go back in time. That's our only option.
That's why I take mm-hmm. issue with some people that I've heard talking about these books, on like kind of like overall podcasts about books in general, and they've felt like the first three are the best, and that after that they get messier later on. But I feel like there are so many moments, in especially the first books, where people just don't behave rationally. And there are definitely still instances like that later on, but I feel like she's become more conscious of that,
mm-hmm.
and avoids them more artfully than she does in the first few. The first few, you really have to treat them more like children's literature, because of how gaping the plot holes are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the later books earn a little bit more than that, just because of some of these holes have been patched up a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you say, like, there feel like the one solution that I can come up with is fucking time travel. Oh, okay. We're doing that then.
Yeah, like
that's a crazy leap to make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you have all this other magic at your disposal, but time travel is the
mm-hmm.
way to go. So, I guess.
Precisely. So this is where Harry finds out Hermione's secret with the time turner.
Yeah. I appreciate how in the book, because, we talked about it when in the movie, there's the scene of Harry being like, what's going on? What's happening? What's going on? What's happening? And
mm-hmm.
it's a lot of, I just don't have time to explain it to you right now.
Yeah.
that is not really in the book. It happens much quicker. So it's not as irritating. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. Taking 10 minutes to explain how I don't have time. Come on.
So it goes much better in the book, and before Harry can get out more than 2 questions, it's already happened. Mm-hmm. And she's breaking it down to him, and Harry is the one who comes up with the realization of what it is they have to do. Which I can't remember if that is true for the movie or not. Why do I feel like in the movie it was Hermione's idea? I could be making that up.
All of the good ideas to Hermione and never let Harry or Ron be smart ever.
I think you're right.
Yeah, they really lean on that a lot.
And again, I mean, you co-signed it, so I feel like maybe that is what happened. But I don't remember for certain that it was her. Was it her in the movies?
I don't remember, but if it were, I would not be at all surprised. That feels very likely.
Yeah, it feels like that's what happened. So I was like, oh, look at Harry. That's right. You know stuff, too. You can figure stuff out.
So then comes, them trying to figure out where to be and how to get there without being seen, which I find, frankly, a little tiresome to read after the first time. And... the one moment where Harry thinks that they can just run out and be seen, and Hermione has to be like, think about what your reaction would be if you saw yourself running at you. You would definitely at least try to stun yourself, if nothing else. And so he pipes down a little bit. They manage to save Buckbeak, and this is where we hear, "It was tied here," said the executioner. "I saw it." "How extraordinary," said Dumbledore. There was a note of amusement in his voice. There was a swishing noise and the thud of an axe. The executioner seemed to have swung it into the fence in anger. And then came the howling, and this time they hear Hagrid's words through his sobs. So that's the moment that they heard that they thought was Buckbeak's head being chopped off.
Right. That I also thought.
Right, yes. And... then this is a weird one because they have to, get near enough to the Whomping Willow to see, but they can't be too close or else they risk being seen. And then they just, have to kind of wait there for them to go in and come out again. Mm-hmm. And sit and watch Ron's leg get broken and watch themselves get beat up by a tree, which I'm sure is not great to watch.
Yeah.
And then there is another moment of Harry wanting to dart out and pick up the invisibility cloak. Because if he managed to snag it before Snape came around the corner, he wouldn't be able to get in there and surprise them all and get the drop on them.
Yep.
Which I feel like if he had just done it without actually stopping and conferring with Hermione, he might have been able to grab it before Snape came around the corner.
Yeah.
But, we will never know.
If he had been able to grab it, then Snape doesn't get to interrupt. And what do you think happens?
I mean, they bring Peter Pettigrew to the fucking castle and everybody sees he's not dead.
But they walk outside and the moon is still a full moon. The thing with Lupin's still going to go down.
I think it would have gone down sooner and they wouldn't have been out under the moonlight if Snape hadn't interrupted them and slowed everything the fuck down.
Oh, you think that much time has passed? Okay.
I think so. But I think even if... I don't know. That's a good question. Because if enough time hadn't passed, they still got caught out there. Pettigrew's still getting away, and Harry and Hermione and Sirius are still getting attacked by Dementors. But maybe they all get found, and their word is actually there's nobody to contradict them.
Right.
Snape is the only one who has any respect and is saying anything different happened. So their story is the only story.
Yeah. The thing is Snape is already making a beeline there.
True.
He just happens to find the cloak.
So you think he would have, like, waited outside the...
That's just it. I don't know. He is flying there on his way in a rush to do something.
I really thought you were going to say on his wings. He is flying there on his wings.
Yes,
like,
on
wait,
his
what?
Snape, on his Snape wings. And he just happens to find it outside, you know. Mm-hmm. So, I think he still goes in.
Okay.
Maybe he just doesn't get to overhear as much, you know. Because he doesn't get to lurk under the cloak. He just interrupts them right away.
Yeah, because, I mean, the cloak doesn't keep you from being heard, and they didn't hear him coming down that corridor, tunnel. Mm-hmm. So he could have gotten pretty close and been right outside the door, and they apparently wouldn't have heard him. Yeah,
so it's hard to say. I really don't know how much the cloak has to do with anything that happens.
Interesting. Guys, if you have theories on that, let me know. I'm curious about, because there's always somebody listening who remembers something that I completely forgot about. Inevitably. So I know somebody is going, but this thing! And I'm sorry that I don't know about this thing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to disappoint you all. I'm very unlikable. So, Hermione, outside is trying to figure out with Harry who conjured the Patronus. Of course, her instinct is that it must have been a teacher, which is my favorite. Because of course, that's what you'd think. A grown-up saved us.
I mean, they've been doing such a good job of saving them so far throughout these books.
Ooh, shade. Teacher shade.
The very best kind.
So then Harry just says the thing that he, like, I don't know that he would have said it if anyone else was there. Even Ron. But he tells Hermione that he thinks it was his dad. Mm-hmm. To which she's like, dude, your dad's dead. You know that, right? And he's like, I know, shut up! And then they don't talk for pretty much the rest of the time until Lupin comes out with Ron and Peter. Then, all of a sudden, Hermione realizes that if they just sit there and know it's Harry, that where they are sitting is exactly where Lupin runs to after he transforms. And they need to get the fuck out of the way. We need to go. And this is when they are... Okay, so they run into Hagrid's hut. And I don't know why Hagrid isn't here. Because he got drunk, right, to celebrate. And he wandered off somewhere. But I don't remember where he went. But they run into his hut. Fang starts going nuts. And they have to tell him to calm the hell down. And then he says that we should go get Buckbeak. And then we can see what's going on. Riding around on Buckbeak. And he is about to go get him, and then he decides, well, since I'm out here anyway, maybe I could just stroll on over to the lake and watch my dad appear and cast a Patronus.
So, prove I'm not crazy, that I saw what I saw. No big deal.
Nope. And then he finally, like, after standing there and waiting just a second too long. Yeah. Like, he really pushes it.
And he's like, where are you?
Yep. He finally realizes, oh my god, it was me! And runs out there and casts his Patronus, and we get a pretty sweet 2-page illustration.
Yeah, we do.
Of this stag erupting from the end of his wand.
Yeah, it's pretty solid, guys.
Yeah,
it's all right. It is all right. And he is just
pretty solid. Everything. It is a corporeal Patronus.
He is throwing everything he has into it. Like the way he's standing, it's like he's, throwing a ball or something. Like he's pitching at the World Series. He's just, it's pretty good.
It kind of is like similar to the pose that you're making.
Oh, it kind of is.
Guys, if you haven't already looked on the Facebook page, I posted a lot of pictures from our trip, but the one that I used for our banner picture,
our lavish trip,
from our lavish trip, was from the Shutter Button session that Joyce and Desmond Stallworth let us in on very generously. And RoShawn and I are wand fighting. We are fighting with magic wands, and she is much taller than me anyway. And she's actually standing up with, like, the wand over her head, and I'm crouching in a very, like, yeah, you can hit me, but I won't fall far kind of stance, because I'm short. But that's what it reminded me of. And this is where we find out what prongs actually is.
I was so mad at myself. I will never be able to explain. Not in a million years.
I just love it so much. There is no explanation. There doesn't need to be. I would rather there not be. Who wants that explained? It's too special for an explanation. And Hermione's like mad at him. What did you do? You said you were only going to keep a lookout. I just saved all our lives, said Harry. And I'm like, oh, really, Harry? Your dead dad didn't save all your lives? You're not going to mention that part, huh?
The illustration at the bottom of these two pages is pretty cool, too. Just like the stag in action, you know? It's pretty good.
It is. And then we get another pretty sweet illustration of Hermione and Harry on the back of Buckbeak flying.
Yeah, this is nice.
Lots of bats below him.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. It's probably what his dinner was. So they see Snape come out and put them all on stretchers and head back, and they have to time it exactly so that they get Buckbeak to the tower after everyone has left and before they come back and try and administer the kiss. Because somebody's going to see Buckbeak flying around if they aren't really careful.
Right.
But they manage it. And Sirius says, we'll see each other again. You are truly your father's son, Harry. And
which is the best, worst thing he could have said.
Away.
So he's in his, like Harry had 2 minutes of a, possible happy ending.
Yep.
Not even a whole 2 minutes. I think I'm being generous.
Yep. Bless him.
I remember just being so upset for Harry when this played out the way it did,
Yeah.
Even though, I didn't know anything about the whole story, but I know enough that I know he doesn't get a happy ending, especially not this early in the books. But even knowing that, just thinking what it must have been like for him to think that he was going to have family, and then to have it just snatched right out of his hands. And that he has to, not only is it snatched out of his hands by circumstance, and the actions of these other people, Snape, and things out of his control, there being a full moon and Lupin turning, but he has to actually aid and abet the leaving of Sirius, He has to go in and steal the car that Sirius is going to drive out of his life in.
Aww. The way you phrased that was just heartbreaking. Goodness.
So yeah, I just remember being so sad for Harry when I read this. And I'm still sad for him in this moment.
Yeah, of course. So the next chapter, I had for some reason thought that we speed forward in time a little bit after he helped Sirius get away. But really, it's exactly the same spot where the last chapter leaves off, where you have to make sure to get out there before Dumbledore locks the door.
Right, and then we just have everybody showing up. Snape is pissed.
Oh my god.
He's so mad. He sounds like a lunatic. Potter was behind it. And people are like, but the door was locked, though. Doesn't matter, he did. And I love that none of the adults are thinking that magic could be involved because they're only at a magical school.
You're right. That didn't even really, like...
That's the best part. Like, it's the flip side of the why didn't Dumbledore just try to figure out what happened? You know, you have all this magic at your disposal. Now they're acting like, you know, well, I don't know, the door was locked. Yeah,
I think that there's like something about that. You know how it is when you just like there's one way that you tend to always do things, and so you forget there's at all any other way to do them. Mm-hmm. I kind of feel like they know that you're not able to like apparate in Hogwarts. Mm-hmm. And so if there's anything that anyone does that involves like traveling suddenly somewhere or getting somewhere without being seen, they have no explanation.
Yeah.
Because apparition is like, as an adult in this world, I think like really the main way you ever travel.
Right. So, yeah, I just think it's really funny that they're looking at him like he's insane for suggesting that there might have been another way to do things. When clearly there are a million ways to do things in this world.
Right? I really love the look of Snape immediately, like, accusing Potter of this.
Yeah.
You know, he just looks crazy.
He makes himself look... Doesn't Fudge be like, oh, that fellow's unstable?
Seems quite unbalanced. Yes. I'd watch out for him if I were you, Dumbledore.
Oh, foreshadowing.
Ooh. Oh, he's not unbalanced, said Dumbledore quietly. He's just suffered a severe disappointment. Mm-hmm.
So...
Yeah.
That part, the disappointment he's talking about is...
to watch his mortal enemy from high school get his soul sucked dry. Yeah,
that's a little dark for somebody who's in charge of children.
Yeah.
You know what I was thinking about that doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about right now, but there is no, for lack of a better word, religion or God in this world, is there? In the magical world.
Mm-mm. No, there were some people in a post I saw today actually arguing about whether or not it makes sense that they celebrate Christmas at Hogwarts.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good ass point.
I mean, they grew up in like either Britain or just like, you know, Western Europe.
Right.
And there is an argument out there that Jesus was just a wizard. And that's why he could do things.
Is there an argument out there for that?
There are people who say that.
I was unaware.
And that they are Christians because they know that Jesus was a wizard. But one would think that if they know that Jesus is just a wizard, that they wouldn't worship him.
That is super...
bonkers.
It is simultaneously fascinating and deeply upsetting to me. I don't know which way I'm going to land on it. I'll have to give it some time.
That's fair.
So they could be celebrating Christmas as purely as the way most of us celebrate it, which is, you know, separate from any sort of religious significance. Mm-hmm. So in a world that has magic, you don't need God? You don't need gods, I guess, if you have magic.
I mean, I would still think you would need gods, but you would have a very different standard for what that looked like.
So, I guess as a writer, you just leave it out because you don't even want to muddle with any of that, you know, why.
Yeah, I would think so.
You know, but, it's oh no, that's not true what I was getting ready to say. I was going to say it's rare to have discussions of good and evil that aren't somehow framed, you know, in what we think of as good and evil from like a sort of a Christian standpoint, you know, like the God and the devil and all that kind of stuff. So they have this world that clearly there's good and evil, and it doesn't have any kind of... What's a word for moral that doesn't have any religious connotation to it? Is there such a word?
Moral isn't religious inherently.
It's not. You're right. It works fine, but I feel like we tend to muddy it a lot when we use it.
I don't feel that.
No,
I would use that and not have a problem with it at all.
I feel like people use it a lot, and it gets people use it to mean something that it doesn't mean on its face.
I mean, people certainly do, but I don't think of it that way automatically.
I think maybe I just didn't want to, was reluctant to use it for that reason. But you're right. The word itself doesn't really have anything to do with a person's religion's makeup, you know. Mm-hmm. There's also no, like in a world with magic, there's this world doesn't have any sort of answers of like why it's here, like why we're here. Like, where does the magic come from? I mean, I don't expect you to have answers to these questions. I'm just wondering about it. You know, like people just are born with the ability to perform magic.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to derail. I had just been thinking about it. It popped in my head the other day.
I think you're thinking about it because we're covering the Dresden Files.
Probably.
And he does tackle some of those questions.
That is probably why.
So now you're just demanding answers with your entitlement.
My entitlement.
But yeah, I do think though that's probably why those questions come to mind after reading the other books.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
Especially since those, like, you're wondering about, like, God in the Harry Potter verse when we just found out that there might be some angels coming.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, Harry, he goes and sees Lupin. First he sees, he
sees Hagrid.
Hagrid, who's really happy about Buckbeak getting away. And then he sees Lupin, who is packing to leave.
This illustration...
we get a really pretty...
Oh, yeah. Man.
It's a good one, right?
Yeah. It's really good. He looks sad and kind of resigned, Mm-hmm. Like, well, this is just what my life is.
Melancholy.
Yeah.
Is the feel of, like, the whole illustration, because it's done in black and white with really heavy shading and, like...
Yeah.
It's just... The detail for this book doesn't tend to be this high if it's not color. But they went hard on this one.
Yeah. Oh, poor Lupin.
I know. And this is when Harry, like, he gives back the Marauders map to Harry because he... It's like, well, I'm not your teacher, so I'm not really honor bound
to
keep this away from you. And then Harry asks him, they would have wanted to lure me out of school. You said that they would have thought it was funny. And Lupin says, oh, yes, we would have. I have no hesitation in saying James would have been highly disappointed if his son had never found any of the secret passage out of the castle. Which is kind of cute. I really like... It's a weird idea that Harry... This is something that I had thought of the other day. Snape, like, points his wand at the thing and gets answers back from them. And, it's magical and they were children when they made this. But I wonder if Harry could talk to his dad in a way. You know what I mean? I just, like, I wish that's something that he had tried to do at some point, even if we just didn't get... Because I know I would have tried to do it. after seeing the way that Snape was, like, able to interact in any sort of way.
Yeah.
I would have tried it.
Yeah, it's surprising that he doesn't, even though I expected the answers would have been, very flippant, like what we saw Snape got. Or it could have been, you know what? It could have been not just flippant. They could have been, like, funny answers, too.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
Jokes about teachers and other little, like, places in the school that are fun hideaways and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Harry's just getting over that whole diary situation.
Yeah.
So maybe he's not really interested in talking this shit right now.
I just really do. I would have tried it if I were him, so that's really where it comes from. It's just me thinking about if I were in his shoes and never got to talk to my father.
Yeah.
Even if it were some dumb, flippant joke of an answer, I'd still kind of treasure that a little,
And then this is when Lupin starts to talk about the thing with Peter now, because Harry saved his life.
Mm-hmm. With Dumbledore.
Is that with Dumbledore?
Isn't that what you were saying? Like that he's talking to Dumbledore about it?
Oh, you're right. I thought he was talking to. I thought that was something Lupin said. But you're right. He's talking to Dumbledore now.
Oh yeah.
How did I get to Dumbledore?
That
conversation with Lupin.
Yeah.
I don't think I realized the conversation with Lupin was that quick.
Because Lupin leaves and Harry just stays in his office and then Dumbledore comes in.
Yeah. I thought they talked for longer than that. Aw.
What?
I just thought they talked for much longer.
Oh, she's so sad.
But it was really quick. I'm sorry. I had forgotten how short that moment was that they had together, In my memory, it was not only longer, but more was discussed, But I guess I just made that shit up. That happens much later in the books. Sorry.
So, this is when he talks about Trelawney's prediction and Dumbledore being kind of impressed. And Harry is horrified that Dumbledore seems to really think it is a real prediction and says, I stopped Sirius and Professor Lupin killing Pettigrew. That makes it my fault if Voldemort comes back. Now, here is the thing that I really wish I had Dumbledore's mindset on. Because if I were listening to Harry go, then it's my fault, I should have let them kill him, I would have been like, yes. It is your fault. You should have let them kill him. This is on you. I am an unforgiving soul.
Not cut out for teaching.
Is like, this is totally not your fault. You did a kind thing, and the choices that he makes are his choices.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm like, I mean, they are, but you knew what those choices were gonna be. Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's where my head is. And I know that Dumbledore's like, right, but this is not how my mind works.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah. Peter plays a huge role in Voldemort coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like it's some no-name red shirt.
Yeah.
That, saving doesn't, killing wouldn't have changed the course. Voldemort still would have done what he did if this guy had been killed. Like, it would have been a huge blow to have Peter Pettigrew not at his disposal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You wouldn't be wrong. You would be wrong for telling him, but you wouldn't be wrong for thinking it.
Yeah, I just really, I've been really much more aware over the past few years, probably due to my divorce and becoming more aware that, it wasn't just Brendan who thought I was super harsh. there were a lot of people in my life who just never really said that to me until they knew that he had told me that. And then they were like, well, I wasn't going to say anything. But, yeah, you could stand to chill out a little.
So,
and...
Well,
what?
I'm just... So, what happens at the end of the books with Peter? When does that come back? This whole, you have a bond with him, he owes you.
The bond coming back is when Peter strangles himself. Because he is about to, like, get Harry and Ron out of the Malfoy dungeon, basically, for, I think he was sent down there to grab them by Bellatrix.
Yes.
And Harry yells, "Are you really doing this? You owe me."
That's right. Okay.
And and he pauses, and the silver hand that Voldemort gave him can sense that he hesitated in doing his duty, and it turns on him and strangles him.
Right. I'm just trying to decide if I think that was worth it or not. Like, letting him live just to get that in return. Mm-hmm. I feel like if he had just killed him, they might not have ended up in that dungeon.
Listen. This is what I'm saying. It's just the kind of thing that, like, if Pettigrew had shown any sign of realizing he'd made a bad choice, then Harry saving his life would have felt much more understandable. But Pettigrew is still in denial about everything that he did till the moment that they are able to pin him down with it. And even then, there's no apology. It's, what did you expect me to do? Right.
Well, of course, and this is not something that you don't already know. I just feel like, I'm going to say it anyway. This thing is not... This Harry sparing Peter Pettigrew is about showing us who Harry is. And much less about whether it matters that Pettigrew lives or dies, obviously, right?
Right.
It's about showing us what Harry is made of and how he is different. And it keeps coming back to that, how Harry is different and in a lot of ways better than Voldemort or the Death Eaters or any of that, because he is good. So I guess we need to see him do that. And we need Dumbledore because Harry knows that the smart thing would have been to kill him.
Yeah.
But we need Dumbledore to remind us that no, he doesn't kill him because that's who you are. And to remind us as readers, that that's what's important here. And then, like, if he kills Peter Pettigrew, we don't get the other books.
You selfish bitch.
I'm entitled.
Yeah, so Harry and Dumbledore, not only is he like, you did the right thing not killing him, but your father wouldn't have killed him either.
Which I guess is, I think that's right.
Yeah, I do too.
And I know Snape says that James only backed out because he didn't want to get in trouble, but I don't think that's true.
That he wouldn't have let them kill him?
I don't think that James would have ever gone all the way through with that. Doesn't seem like him, right?
You don't think he would have gone all the way through with killing him?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because, again, I don't know older, mature James.
Yeah. I have really not a lot to base it on except the continual telling how much Harry is like his father. But for some reason, I think that James is not a murderer. I don't think he would have let that happen. And I also think, and this is purely conjecture, I somehow feel like James would have thought of Lupin in a way that Sirius didn't. I don't think James lets that go down.
Okay. That makes sense to me. So at the end, it turns out it wasn't Lupin who who told Dumbledore about the fact that they were animagi, it was Sirius, which makes sense since the existence of the Marauders map was not brought to his attention. And he mentions about how how Harry's Patronus took an unusual form as a stag. And then that's pretty much the end of their conversation, and we jump ahead. And everybody is talking about what happened and all the crazy theories. And Malfoy is super pissed off that Buckbeak got away. He got outwitted by a gamekeeper. My stars. And if I manage to get into the ministry, I'll have a lot of proposals to make about magical law enforcement, he told the only person who would listen, his girlfriend, Penelope. I really like that detail. Nobody wants to fucking hear this shit, dude. Everybody's done. And everybody is super, super bummed that the only Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher they got that was any good is also gone after only a year.
Yep.
And Harry is just really distracted by Lupin being forced to go, by wondering what the hell happened to Pettigrew and where he is and what the fuck he's doing right now, and worrying about the possible consequences of all of that. And Snape, of course,
is being the worst.
The worst. He is so... I love this line. A muscle twitched unpleasantly at the corner of Snape's thin mouth every time he looked at Harry, and he was constantly flexing his fingers as though itching to place them around Harry's throat. Well, yikes.
Right? I like that it says Snape's behavior had become quite alarming.
Oh, that's pretty good. So then Hogwarts Express, and Ron is really irritated because he's finally found out about Hermione's time turner, and he can't believe she would keep that kind of secret. You can't believe that she followed a rule,
right?
Ron?
It's crazy talk, right?
Just so out of character.
It's like he doesn't even know who she is.
And this is when he invites him to come over for the Quidditch World Cup this summer, which would be super fun, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it?
Yeah. You know, it's not like everything's going to catch on fire and a mob is going to break out.
Oh, God. So, surprise, they get an owl that looks like a very fluffy snitch. It's a tiny, teeny little owl. And it's a letter from Sirius explaining what happened, that he did get him the firebolt after all, and that he's making sure that he gets sighted way, way far away from Hogwarts so that they are able to lift the security. And it turns out that Crookshanks is the one that took the message to the owl office.
Yeah, I love that.
Which is just so... I love that Crookshanks has the smarts to do that. I wish we got more of Crookshanks.
Yeah, agreed.
And he says that I used your name but told him to take the gold from Gringotts Vault 711, my own. Which I'm like, how? How did you do that?
Yeah, I mean,
did you provide identification, sir?
None of that makes any sense. You're a convicted murderer. Your vault, no one should have any access to your vault, period. And you can't just send it. Yeah, none of that makes any sense. But whatever. We're just going to let that go. And he also says that it was me, skulking around as a giant dog spying on you over the summer.
Skulking is such a great word.
It is.
I'm enclosing something else for you, which I think will make your next year at Hogwarts more enjoyable. And again, with the I'm gonna let it go because this is children's literature right now. He signs Harry's permission slip to Hogsmeade.
Right. Again, escaped convict on the run. You can't sign nobody's permission slip to do shit. You just can't.
Just be like, well, I'm supposed to be dead, but...
Right. I mean, if you were locked up and they sent you the papers as his guardian and you signed it, that would be one thing.
Right.
But no, you can't be on the lam.
Prison. I have no idea where he is. Well, you keep getting all of your permission forms signed. And you got a lot of doctor's notes that seem to have a similar signature, letting you out of class early.
Oh, boy. But again, you know what? We will allow it.
Agreed. And then it turns out that the teeny tiny owl is Sirius replacing poor Scabbers because Ron no longer has a pet rat anymore. Which we find out later gets named Pigwidgeon.
Oh, that's right.
I do not understand, but okay.
I think it's cute.
And let's see. Harry read and reread the letter from Sirius all the way back to King's Cross. It was still clutched tightly in his hand as he, Ron, and Hermione stepped back through the barrier of platform 9 3/4. Harry spotted Uncle Vernon at once. He was standing a good distance from Mr. and Mrs. Weasley, eyeing them suspiciously. And when Mrs. Weasley hugged Harry in greeting, his worst suspicions about them seemed confirmed, which I enjoy a great deal. And this is when Harry is like, I have a letter from my godfather. He was my mom and dad's best friend. He's a convicted murderer, but he's broken out of wizard prison and he's on the run. He likes to keep in touch with me, though. Keep up with my news. Check I'm happy. Oh, Harry. Never change, you rapscallion.
Oh, well,
so that is that.
That's that, guys. That is that.
Man. I can't believe it.
Yep.
I can't believe it. Everybody. I feel like there should be some kind of, taps should be playing or something.
Well, we're going to have another episode.
I know, but still. But, yeah, guys, just a reminder, make sure to write us if you have questions or suggestions of things to talk about for the final episode. Unspoiledpodcast@gmail.com. I want to plug AkioBox again, because I know a lot of people, myself included, if I have subscriptions to things, I unsubscribe right around the holidays because I need my money for my presents for other people, and I no longer get my stuff. But the holidays are over. We're starting a new year. And wouldn't it be cool to have a new year filled with awesome stuff to make yourself happy? It's self-care, guys.
Yeah, it's very important.
For your mental health.
It's very important.
And AkioBox is an awesome little independent subscription box. If you use code UNSPOILED, you get 10% off your first 3 boxes, and they send really awesome shit. I have gotten, I think, 3 boxes from them so far, and every single one has had stuff I've never seen anywhere else. Like, a lot of it is exclusively, they designed it and created it for their box, or they got somebody who's a creator on Etsy to make something specifically for them. It's always just really, really good.
Yeah, I loved my 2 boxes that I got.
The Constant Vigilance flask. Yep. I know I keep mentioning it, but there's a reason why.
I'm so mad I didn't get one. I do love those wine glasses, though.
Oh, those are great.
They really are. My little candles, which I'm looking at right now, it smells so good. Pumpkin juice.
Oh man,
one.
I burned through those.
I have just a little bit left, and I'm not going to burn them anymore. I'm just going to save them.
Yeah, I've built up so much Harry Potter glassware, and so I got 2 mugs from listeners. Then Owen had bought me a Mischief Managed mug before I even moved to Texas. Then for the Christmas gift swap that we just did with our friends, I got a 9 3/4 mug. And a listener, and I'm sorry I'm blanking on who it was, sent us the shot glasses, which were awesome.
Yep.
Then we have the Dark Mark wine glasses. And I know that there was another thing, but I have so much Harry Potter theme. Like, I need to figure out a way to display that kind of thing.
I'm getting shelves sometime in the next month because I need to because I want to put my wand up. That's really the main motivation for me finally getting off my ass to get the shelves. And then I can put my, some of my little pop dolls up and stuff like that. I got a Hogwarts alumni mug someone sent me a couple years ago. And I have a Marauders map mug that's just plain, and then when you put hot beverage in, the map shows up. It's pretty cool. It's my favorite. And then I have the glasses, the wine glasses, and the shot glasses. So I need somewhere to put my stuff.
Yeah, I almost brought the shot glasses to Universal, but they seemed just fragile enough. They're not like super thick glass like some shot glasses can be. And if they broke, I would have been utterly heartbroken. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to test fate.
Yeah, I'm glad that I forgot.
A good idea.
Yeah, you meant to tell me not to bring them, but you forgot to tell me. But then I forgot you wanted me to bring them. So it worked out.
And it turned out to not be a trip where we did shots.
Nope.
Because we were friggin' tired.
Yep.
So it wouldn't have gotten used even if I had brought them. Anyway, Akio Box. Guys, definitely check it out. They have a really awesome Instagram where you can go and look through old boxes. Like, they'll post it under a little spoiler. Because now you can post multiple pictures on Instagram and just swipe. So they'll have it say, spoilers for the December box. And then you swipe right, and the next image is going to be something that is in the next upcoming box. But you don't see it in your feed if you don't want to be spoiled, which I think is a great idea because they're teamed up with Unspoiled Podcast, baby. But yeah, they're really delightful. And I am just happy to be teamed up with them.
And you have a code, right?
Yeah, I just said it, but I will say it again. Yeah. Unspoiled gets you 10% off your first 3 boxes.
I need to make a note of that.
Because
for reasons
y'all want to be supporting 2 awesome small businesses, right? Don't you? Don't you? I'm sorry. Did I just spend too much time talking about how I'm trying to monetize my podcast?
I think you did.
God forbid. I'm going to cover myself in ashes and whip my own back. I'm so sorry. I think that's all the announcements that I had for like upcoming stuff. I just realized that I didn't check for new patrons. And I wanted to remind you all that if you want to listen to the final 4 books in the series, the coverage of that will be available on Patreon for $1 and up patrons, but it won't be available immediately because RoShawn and I are taking a hiatus from Harry Potter coverage in order to cover Westworld. And that is hopefully, I'm kind of hopeful that the second season will come out while we are in the middle of covering the first one, so that RoShawn can like binge it and then we can cover the second season right after it, because it's going to be coming out in spring of 2018. And there aren't, I know we've looked this up, RoShawn, but it's how many episodes in the first season? Is it 8?
I feel like it's 10.
Okay. Because it wasn't going to be a terribly long hiatus with just one season. It was going to be like about 3 months, right, roughly.
The only thing is, remember, I can't, quote unquote, binge it.
Oh, that's true.
I have to wait the 10 weeks.
I'm so used to Netflix now, dropping everything at once.
Yeah, we'll have to.
That I would have to wait for the whole thing to end before we could even start it. So that you knew, like, I mean, we could have it be you just, like, are a couple episodes ahead of me. Which would work, I guess, but I don't know. Guys, if you are going to be listening to the Westworld episodes, if you're into that show and you're going to be following that, what do you think? If that wound up like starting up while we were in the middle of covering the first one, And RoShawn was a spoiled one, but she wasn't necessarily going to finish being spoiled. Would you want us to wait or just get started? Like, it's a hard thing to even know what your answer is when you don't know the plot.
Yeah.
There are times where that's going to be really crucial.
Yeah, I would lean towards needing to watch the whole season.
Based on the first season?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But, I'm trying to think, depending on, like, what the fuck is 10 weeks? It's like 3 months, right?
It's like 2.5. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's 4 weeks in a month.
And I've been trying to, like, I've been kind of stalking, trying to find out when the fuck it's coming out. And you're right, they won't say anything other than spring.
Yeah.
Which is pissing me off.
Very annoying.
But, anywho.
But yeah, that's what's going to be coming up. So I just want y'all to know, like, if you are signing up as a patron immediately, you're not going to be getting Harry Potter coverage immediately. There's going to be a couple months. But if you like Westworld, then you're still going to be supporting a show that you are also going to be listening to. And I've said it already, but I'll say it again. Listen to fucking Dresden Files. And if you like these books and you haven't read Dresden Files and you're looking for something new to get into, you should check that out because they're on audiobook. And if you love podcasts, you probably love audiobooks. And the Dresden Files audiobooks are fantastic. And I have literally, by now, listened to the book that we're covering 3 times since we started covering it. Okay, so RoShawn and I have done 2 recordings of Death Masks, 2 episodes. So total of 2 weeks. I have listened to the Death Masks audiobook at this point 2.5 times in 2 weeks. And it is like 13 hours long. Yes, I've been doing lots of cooking and housework, but it's just, they're really, really fun, and it's hard to get tired of them, even though there's 16 of them, and James Marsters narrates them, and they're just so much fun. So check that one out, guys. Do it. Do it, do it, do it. And lastly, new patrons. We have, I think I said this on the Dresden Files episode, Dr. Trek Wizard, which is like the most fandom-y name ever. Molly Harper, Grace Elizabeth, and Chris Arau, and Hannah Kerwin, who just became a patron today. So welcome, Hannah. Welcome to all of you guys. Thank you very much for becoming patrons and for valuing my work and not being mad at me. I like when people are mad at me. It's nice. It makes for a nice change. Is there anything that you wanted to add?
No, ma'am.
Mademoiselle? I really feel like I'm forgetting something here, but, you know, I always do. I need to get better about this, and I know I say that every episode, but I don't really think of it until I'm in the middle of it. Well, everybody, again, don't forget, email me, message me, tweet at me if you have ideas for the question and answer episode. Right. Those of you who are $20 and up, that final question and answer episode is going to be live on YouTube, so you guys can be there and asking and conversing with us live while we record it. And after that, $20 and up patrons, while we're on hiatus from Harry Potter, are going to be getting exclusive access to the final season of Sherlock. I say final. It's not actually the final season. It's just the most recent season. The most recent, and in my opinion, the most bonkers. And that is going to be the temporary reward for $20 patrons.
Did that happen?
Yeah, I posted it and I tagged you in it.
Did
and
you?
People said yes.
I did not. I didn't even realize that a decision had been made.
Yeah, girl.
Oh. Well, look at me. Learning something new.
So that's going to be a once-a-month bonus episode for $20 and up patrons, starting probably in February. So I think that's it. All right. Are you good, girl?
I'm good. Oh,
right.
And don't nobody else think they want to leave 1-star reviews and we're going to read that shit. That was a one-off. Don't get cute.
That was a one-off because unless you leave a 1-star review and you are more bananas than that woman was, if you get really good with it, I might still read it. You know, like it depends on how I need clicks, guys. I want to generate clicks. Make it wild. Have the title of the review be like, one weird thing about this podcast. The doctors hate this podcast because cops in your area, I don't know.
Guys, don't do any of those things. Don't listen to her. She has clearly gone mad.
I'm losing it. I'm sorry. It's really hot in here. Okay, I love you all. We will see you next week with a Q&A in the final episode for Harry Potter Unspoiled iTunes edition. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.